Hello and welcome to Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. I'm Becca.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian this time.
Yay!
Because we're thrilled. Yeah, it's still Brian.
Your exuberance is boundless.
Yep. So,
That's a good sentence.
this is the podcast where we read and review comics from the viewpoint of people who don't read and review comics generally except twice a week now.
Yeah.
Well, every other week. Twice a week? No. Every other
twice a
week.
week's a
Twice
little
a week's
much. I
way
don't know.
too much. We do not read that much.
Again, I don't know. I just nod my head like it's going to be, yep, that's when I read.
Mm-hmm.
So our usual, usually what we do is we go through the story, we go through the art of a book, and then we go to the spoiler section. We'll heavily mark the spoiler section, as per usual. This week we're reading an independent title. It's done by the company Valiant, and the title of the book is Quantum and Woody. We're reading volume 1, so I believe it's issues 1 through 4? I think it was 4 parts, yes. 4 parts.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, no, it was a fun book. Valiant's a pretty cool company. They do books. They're pretty awesome. Done. That's all I know about Valiant. They do Quantum and Woody, maybe some other titles. Who knows? Maybe we'll read some more. Who knows?
Find out later.
Or request that we read more Valiant books. Or maybe do research. You could request that.
You can request we look up what we're talking about before we start talking. That too.
That can happen.
I feel like that ruins the fun.
But if you request it, I mean,
We'll
I'm
have
not
to do it.
I'm not against it. If you're like, I'd really like it if you knew what you were talking about, I'd be like, it's against the purpose of the podcast, but go ahead, do it. So yeah, we're reading Quantum and Woody Volume 1. We're gonna go into the story section.
All right. On that segue. Yeah, okay. So, Quantum and Woody. The comic opens with our titular characters falling from what looks to be like a 10-story window, which is always a good way to start a book. Basically, our two protagonists are Quantum and Woody. Well, Woody's real name is Woody, because, that's an actual name. Quantum's real name is named Eric. And
Is Woody a real name?
I think so. Toy Story taught me it was.
Yeah.
At least for cowboys.
Along with Rex, Mr. Potato Head.
Whoa!
All very famous names.
My mother comes from a long line of potato heads. Thank you very much. They are proud people who don't need none of your guff.
If Paul's mom is listening, we are sorry. You are not a potato head. You are a very nice lady.
Well, way to make this insulting. I was going to know last
The
name.
whole point is
Wow.
Potato Head's a good name.
Were you insulting my mother? Is that what you think? I feel like we've gotten really off topic very
Quantum
quickly.
and Woody.
Quantum and Woody. Woody being a real name. Quantum not being a real name. But
Woody not being a cowboy.
Although if your name is Quantum, we're not against it. It's,
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice name.
it is, yes.
Keep
Very,
rocking.
very, very
Keep
science. You do you, boo-boo. So yeah. We lost. Okay. This is a good start. So, Woody, Quantum, whose real name is Eric, falling out of a building. Always a good start. Basically, these are our titular characters, and the comic goes after introducing them falling and presumably, potentially to their death. We have an immediate flashback, which is a lot of fun, where we learn that Eric and Woody are basically I don't want to say they're not step brothers. They're
Brothers by adoption.
Yes.
Which I knew there was probably a more official term for that, but I knew it wasn't step siblings. Anyway, they're siblings. Eric being the more studious and by the rules individual, and Woody being more of a fly by the seat of your pants, get into fist fights, kind of reckless troublemaker. Although he has a good heart in that he tries to protect Eric, because Eric is, at least in the flashbacks, kind of a nerd, kind of quiet, reserved, unwilling to really get into things on his own. So, after we learn a little bit about the characters who are falling and plummeting through which I love that setup. It goes through, here they are falling from a building, here's their backstory, and now we're going to cut to a new scene entirely, which is their father, Derek, yes, I remembered that this time, is a scientist working on, I guess, what was it? Was it energy research and alternative forms of energy? And it looks like he's panicked trying to back up files and, get out of the building quickly. And we soon see why he's doing that when, as he's running through the building to get out, he runs into, for lack of a better term, a very, very Russian individual. Because he's got like the hammer and sickle on his face, and kind of like the broken English, kind of like the how you say dialogue.
Yeah, very tall, large, like drawn very Russian, large nose, black hair, beard. It's Russian.
Very Russian.
And then, yeah,
as if that wasn't enough.
Hammer
and
it in.
sickle on her face. And sickle it in. There you go. Boom. Should have said that first before the other. Anyway, yes. Who promptly, I guess, all this joyous laughter about this character who then promptly murders their dad, by snapping his neck. And the Russian then reports to a group that's really kind of shadowy, well, I don't want to say shadowy, but creepy looking old woman with red suited other women. Yeah, underlings, I guess, minions of some sort with a lot of sharp equipment aimed at her face. Yeah, so we go right from people falling out of a building to a flashback to then a murder of their father. Which then goes on, we learn a little bit more about, Eric and Woody. Eric is a, military security officer. He once again is very much, basically got the stereotypical cop code where he's very much by the book. He steps in, tries to do what's right, defending people, which leads to him almost breaking the arm of a waitress's boyfriend in one of the first scenes because the boyfriend was joking around about taking the money out of the register, which he interpreted as a robbery. So, it's on this high point in his life that he gets the phone call that his father has been killed. Woody, on the other hand, his first panel outside of costume is him in bed with a redhead, where he has obviously been sleeping with her and is shown to have a very kind of carefree attitude towards things, and also, like, he slips out of the hotel room before he has to pay, leaving her to deal with it, which, great character. He then goes and promptly pickpockets people so that he can pay off his bookie, who he's been using to most likely illegal gambling. Although it does show that the person he picked for pickpocket, the person he chose to picked for pickpocketing, almost like I'm saying a tongue twister there. The person he picked for pickpocketing was kind of a jerk and kind of a cheapskate. So I guess there's a sort of twisted justice in there somewhere, but
yeah.
Anyway, Woody is then approached and he is told about his father's passing. But when he comes to the funeral, he gets furious at Eric for not telling him about it because they've apparently not spoken for a long period of time, since some event that they vaguely reference in their childhood, where Woody left home. So, 9 years, there we go. For 9 years.
And Woody's the adopted.
Yes.
I don't know if we mentioned particularly.
I don't know.
Woody's the adopted son, whereas Eric is the biological son.
Yeah. So, Eric, of course, the way that Woody starts talking, basically, because he's mad, says that Eric did a terrible job protecting his father, which leads to the first of many brawls between the two, where they actually go cascading down into another funeral, knocking the casket into the ground, and then they are promptly arrested because,
many reasons.
This public assault, knocking caskets around. I'm pretty sure you can't do that,
I don't know if it's illegal to assault a dead person, though, like that.
I think it is in front of their family.
I don't know.
Well, you could argue that the casket is the paid property of the family. They did pay a lot of money for that casket.
Vandalism.
So you're
vandalism,
wrecking the casket.
yes, but, no assault charges for that.
Well, they didn't open the casket and punch a dead person. They just stumbled into the casket.
Right.
We don't know that they didn't. There's a segue that says 11 minutes later.
So, okay.
Yeah, well, I'd presume they had no ill will against a random casket
I
person.
presume nothing based on the character's behavior.
Whoa.
Eric's an upstanding citizen.
That's what I say he is. That's one of his main character traits, is that he is upstanding.
Yeah.
Woody, not so much.
No, not at all. Like we already.
Hence the possible dead guy punching.
No, see now you're dragging this on and on. Look, we know that Woody sleeps around, is willing to be a gambler, pickpocket, and con artist from the looks of things, but all in the span of 2 pages, which is impressive.
Very much so.
But yeah, I don't think that's on his list of things he's done. Anyway, basically, because of their father's research, the two of them are questioned about whether or not they were involved in his murder or know who might be behind the murder. So after a falling out, because they still aren't getting along, they decide that they're going to go and do their own research. Woody says they should break in and find out information, recon, and Eric says that that's not how they do things. We have another flashback, where we learn that Eric was really close to their father, being his biological son, he would be, but he feels as though his father is paying a lot more attention to Woody than him, because despite the fact that Eric himself is, like we said before, very upstanding, very much does what he's supposed to, does well in school, whereas Woody, having been kicked around from foster home to foster home, is getting a lot of his father's attention, which is upsetting to him. So.
You also learn the main plot point that, apparently it was, Derek's wife who wanted to adopt children. He convinced her to have a child of their own first, and then she died, and then because of her death, he adopted a son, Woody. Yep.
No, that's... yeah. So, the scene picks back up to the present day, where Woody goes and bluffs his way into the, company where his father worked. Did it have a name? Let me check real fast here. Quantum Laboratories.
Yeah.
Yep, Quantum Laboratories. Where his father worked. And he just goes around and I should also comment that this is a pretty funny book, because as I sit here scrolling through, I chuckle to myself, and I realize I should probably verify.
Also, I don't know if we mentioned this as well.
Oh.
A very big plot point, things that you can't see. Derek and Eric are black. They're of African American descent, whereas Woody is a white child. So, when he comes up and says, "I'm Derek's kid," the guard is very confused. He's like, wait.
To which Woody responds that, believe it or not, ironically, I'm the black sheep of the family, which... Yeah, his race. But no, it's well...
It's funny,
written,
he initially says, oh no, I'm the albino one. Just kidding, no, I'm adopted,
Yeah. So then Woody tries to chloroform the guard, but grabbed the wrong rag, which... Ew. That's... But fortunately, before the guard can call for backup, he gets tased by who turns out to be Eric, who, despite saying, no, this is not how we do things, actually went and broke into the lab, though a much more stealthy, subtle way than Woody bluffing his way through and trying to use chloroform. However, Woody then proves that he is indeed useful to have in this situation, because he then impersonates the guard's voice over the walkie-talkie to make sure that they don't send reinforcements looking for him. So, which again, at least is some more humorous things about Woody imitating Eric's voice and some other people's voices. So, they make it into their father's lab, and they find that behind one of the pictures of the family, is a small, micro data drive that has a bunch of information on them, on his father's research. Eric says that while they need to look at it, they don't have enough time, they have to get going, because they are, breaking and entering at this point, and they have tased a guy. As well as shoved random cloths into his face. So, they have to leave. However, Woody decides to go in, and he is intrigued by some of the machinery, that's, connected to his father's lab. So he makes some Star Trek jokes about beaming himself out, and pretends to press a lot of buttons. Eric, freaking out, tries to stop him, inadvertently actually pressing the button, which shuts the lab room down, so they can't get out. And causing this, this looks like nuclear kind of radioactive ball of energy to slowly form in the center. So, meanwhile, while they now, of course, the security now realizes what's going on, they start heading that way. Woody finds a hazmat suit that they can wear to try and be safe, but there's only one. Eric, doing starts his bold thing where it's like, well, I guess I'm the one to press the button, you should be the one to wear it. But while he's giving this speech, Woody has already been putting it on, which makes Eric mad and changes his mind and says, no, you know what, I should be the one to wear this. Which ends up with both of them partly wearing the suit.
Yeah, well, one's, what's it? Woody's got one half, and then Eric's got the other. The important part of this is each one's arm is in a sleeve of the suit.
Because, it rips down the middle. However, much to their surprise, after the giant explosion
after not getting the suit on.
Krakoom. I always love reading explosion sounds because they're always written slightly different. We've had a couple badooms, and this one's a krakoom.
It blows out like half
is
of
that
the
the
building.
evolved form of the kaboom?
Maybe, I don't know. Depends.
The kakroom?
It sounds like it. They realize, to their surprise, they are still alive, although slightly glowy and particly.
Yes, you said
and very naked.
Slightly, yeah.
And very, very naked. So the end of the first volume basically comes down to they're surrounded by the cops while completely naked except for these weird, kind of bracelets that were on the arm that they were wearing the suit on. And they're stranded in the rubble. I guess I'll go into we'll go a little bit more, just to give you an idea. The two discover, while trying to argue their way out of from being shot by the cops, more specifically, Woody saying that Eric is a terrorist and was a black fundamentalist Muslim who tried to blow up our godless white science, which is one of my favorite lines from this book. This crazy black man is a Muslim fundamentalist who tried to blow up our godless white science and trying to get himself off the hook, which of course leads to Eric promptly jumping and trying to beat him up again, which is how Woody discovers that he can shoot
fire
beams? It's like some sort of energy beam from his fist, the one that has the bracelet on it, with a whoosh sound that led to cop cars being destroyed. Which of course leads the cops to start opening fire on them, which is where Eric finds out that he can make little force fields from his
bracelet.
Yeah. And they still have all little particle-y effects on them. So I'm trying to think of that. So they stop sparkling though and kind of become more solid again once they touch their bracelets to one another in their fight. Which kind of sets up some future developments, which we'll get into in more of the spoiler section, I suppose. So using their powers, the two manage to get away after blowing up every other cop car in the area so that they cannot be followed, leading to them to go on the run and now really suspected of being their father's murderer, despite the fact that they are not.
Or at least being arrested for blowing up a building.
Which I guess is also a crime in and of itself, yes.
Breaking in, tasering a, guy.
Oh, that guy's probably dead.
He probably didn't survive the explosion.
I mean, half of that building, a good portion of that building was gone. It exploded a lot.
A lot of dead people.
Yeah, a lot of explosion. But yeah.
That was during business hours.
Was it?
I don't know.
I thought it was at night. Or evening-ish.
I fear non-essential personnel would probably have vacated. But, anywho, yeah, so that is the basic setup to Quantum and Woody, in that it's these two brothers who don't get along, who have superpowers now, while trying to track down their father's murderer.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
yeah,
that's a good spot there. Oh, did we say who wrote it or?
No, we didn't.
Oh, we did not. Hold on, I'm actually 2 inches away from that page.
Oh. In that case, I will continue to. Here we go. All right.
Here we are, creatively stalling.
Stalling.
I'm on the wrong page.
No.
I'm on the right page.
More stalling.
Lots of it.
The writer.
The rightist?
I can't even say writer right. Gosh darn it.
What about the leftist?
James Asmus. A-S-M-U-S. James Asmus. Yep. Yeah, that was the main writer on this. So that's... Which, I mean, you did a good job. I like it a lot. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good writer. I like the story. I like the characters. They're very, very different, yet somehow, but still, I don't know, in a way still keep their family ties, even though they're not family ties. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're fleshed out individuals that make sense on how they would. Their interactions make sense. I've already said, like, there's a couple lines in here that really make me chuckle, like the ironically black sheep line, and this black man is a fundamentalist Muslim extremist who wanted to blow up our godless white science. That line is amazing.
Or remember the time in 4th grade when Michael Jordan called you just to say you were a dork? That was me.
Yeah, that was when he was imitating voices. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, you're good at that." Yeah, I have been good at that.
Remember when Michael Jordan called you and said you were a dork?
It was me.
Yeah, so I guess what I really like about the dialogue in this one, as opposed to some other comics that we've read before, is that it's very much a show don't tell, if that makes sense. Like, there isn't a lot of dialogue like, "Oh man, I remember when," it's not like, "Do you remember that time when we da 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 da?" It doesn't feel like exposition dumps. It's just people talking.
Yeah.
But it's set up in such a way, with the flashbacks cut through, that there's no excess dialogue on setting or excess dialogue on character interactions. You just see how they interact, and you then have a comparison to their flashback to see how they used to, which I kind of like a lot.
Yeah, it all kind of just happens and you watch it all. But more importantly, in an issue, you have a complete, full idea of who these characters are and should be and what you should expect from them.
Yeah, like,
which is
like
really impressive in the span of a single issue.
Yeah, like, you literally get who Woody is, because obviously, like, he starts out, obviously with a woman that he doesn't care much about, just slept with, pees in the tub,
yeah.
Into the tub.
Was it the tub? I thought it was the sink.
I'm 90% certain it was the tub.
I'm gonna look at it.
But, he pees into not the toilet.
Nope,
in
the
bathroom.
tub. You're right.
Yes. Pees into that. Girl's like, "Oh, you gonna come back?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll be there in a second." And Jen jumps out the window and then goes pickpocket someone. And then, ratting out his brother to cover his butt. Like, you get a feeling of who Woody is and what kind of person he has been this whole time, which is cool. And then you get a feeling of who Eric is by him being overprotective in the diner in the beginning when he takes down the boyfriend and all this other stuff. It's just,
To be fair, that guy had it coming. You don't, in a public place, go give me all the money in the register.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's
in a trench coat.
That's flirting 101. Like, I'm just saying, come on.
I feel like that's detrimental
as
to
women,
your health.
it's incredibly confusing when you actually get robbed. I mean, you just assume it's flirting. It's so, that's how most of them get away. It's just...
Oh, this guy's flirting with me. Nope, that's actually a gun this time.
Oh, the money.
Crap. Oh, a 50-50 shot and I got it wrong.
And I was gonna call my mother and everything. Anyway, so.
He missed out on a great baked ziti dinner.
I will say...
I'm not sure where that came from.
Well, she would have invited him home for dinner if he would flirt.
Is that immediately what happens when you flirt?
I would hope so.
You don't take the parents' houses? Jeez, what are you?
Or, yeah, like, what's I say? What's going on?
You don't invite parents.
You're moving quick.
Yeah,
like, that's like...
Because baked ziti's far down the line of things.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was more going along the line. What?
It is.
Whew. Man, I'm sorry, I'm now... I'm confused with your flirting abilities and what you expect. I flirted with you. Where's my baked ziti from your parents? That's a little bit...
Yeah.
I asked you for all the money in your register and
What
threatened
I
you
really
with a fake
meant
gun.
was get in the kitchen
I want
and
ziti.
make me a ziti.
I want ziti right now.
Oh man, you are quite the catch.
But I like, it's probably gonna age this, book, but at the beginning, and they have a character person on the, cause the news comes up and goes like, "These superhero fell out of a 10-foot story house, what's going on?" And the one guy that's like the witness at the spot who's quoted
yes.
is the guy from, Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife.
Oh, yeah, Antoine, Antoine Dobson, is that his name? Antoine Dobson?
Something like that.
Something
like that.
But
Cause it's funny, cause you're like, that's funny, cause it's there. But like, I feel like, yeah, like in the future that will date this book. Cause people will be, I mean, you'll be like, oh, that's a person telling a thing. Like, you won't get the joke, so I guess it's not terrible. It's not like Weird Al Yankovic. Like,
Oh my god.
at least it's like,
That joke
Emphasis
will
on
never-
the weird. Officer Rennick, I salute you. You were gone from this world far too soon.
Paul's
But yeah.
planning a cosplay for the next comic convention of Officer Rennick.
Dude, I would. Just call everyone.
just call everyone
You're
Weird
a
Al.
regular Weird Al Yankovic. Emphasis on the weird. Oh, Officer Rennick.
Just keep walking away. I'll be Pornell, I think it
Oh yeah,
was.
Purnell, Dr. Purnell.
Oh, I know who could be Carnage in the stretcher.
Oh, God.
All right, now we got really off track.
I also like the swap of, I mean, generally in a stereotypical situation, it would not be the, black father with a successful job adopting a kid and the white kid being into drugs and stealing and all this stuff, which I like it how it flipped it on its head, because it's not generally a story you read about or things that you see in a comic book story, which was really cool. I like it when comic books go differently.
Yeah, they purposely don't follow that norm of this is what you're
That's
thinking.
that's
You're-
stereotypical.
This is your stereotypical thought, and now let's not make it that way.
Yeah, which is great. I love that. Yeah, and Woody is a grade A screw up. Like, he just, wow. But yeah,
It's honestly impressive that he's been able to survive on his own for like.
he's just a dick. Really, the whole time he's just a dick. You're like, wow, I side with you, Eric. I would punch him in the face too.
Yeah.
Which is done, like, I think 3 times throughout the beginning comic.
Oh yeah, just the.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, and then also Woody was willing to throw his brother under the bus, calling him
Oh my god. That was,
he's a terrorist.
well, cause he also taking the suit before, like, he was just gonna take it, and then throwing him under the bus for the explosion and not taking it. It's bad. Although
Yeah.
I did like the fact that he went into the room and he was like, oh man, this is like I think he said a Trekkie's wet dream. But then he just goes in the room and he's like, beep boop bop!
he says no.
Dr. Scotty,
Star Trek nerds wet dreaming.
yeah. He's just like, beep boop bop, beat me up, Scotty, beep boop bop 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 bop, and like just making noises, and Eric's like freaking out like, don't you dare press buttons in there. Which, speaking of which, I don't know why pressing a button would set off a dangerous machine. I feel like that was your fault.
You are absolutely wrong. They're really just one button.
Blow up half of the building
Well, no,
machine.
I'm sure
No,
other
start the
parameters-
experiment, and then the experiment failed and blew up. That's not... It's designed to be a single button press.
But if it was there is a 50% chance this would blow up and destroy half of the building. Well, I guess we'll leave it in that uncovered button that has absolutely no cover on it to like latch up and then press the button, or any other buttons to press to then unlock it. Nope. If I accidentally like bump into my elbow, it's gonna go off.
That's how a
Also,
science
the
lab
door.
works.
Also, the door will. Why is the button in this room? The
There's a
door
pro-
closes immediately when you press
That's
the
why
button.
there's the hazmat suit in
Yeah,
there.
I was going to say, I assume that there's supposed to be someone else outside there working it as well.
Why didn't they just put the button on the outside?
Because you need to
If it
work on it.
explodes half the building, it explodes the button in the control panel. Whatever.
It's
Whatever.
not meant to explode half the building. It's meant for somebody to be in there in the hazmat suit working on it. And then obviously it catastrophically failed.
Okay. But yeah, no, it was good.
It's
Still
the
funny.
single button press for ease of access. You're only one person. How much time do you have to unhinge things and unlatch things? No, that's not how a science lab works. There's just a button that says start the experiment and you push it.
White, godless science.
He did one of those Xena war cries and declared a war on Christmas. That is the line after Paul's favorite line.
Oh, God. This is
Xena war cries.
so big. It's just so... I love how they go back and forth, because literally, like, seconds before this, when they were fighting over the suit, and obviously they're slinging back and forth, saying, no, I want to do whatever. And then the suit rips, and they realize that neither of them are going to get in the suit. Like, Woody does actually start, like, there's a small dialogue where Woody starts to say, hey, Eric, actually, I'm sorry, it was all my fault. Like, he just starts to say it, and then Eric's like, no, it's okay, goodbye. Like, see you later, that's all we're going to get. So it's like, you get this quick moment of, you know, they are obviously like, he calls him brother. So it's like, you get this quick moment of, you feel that family tie that they have. But, and then it goes immediately back as soon as he's alive and out of danger. He immediately goes back to being a dickhole. So, yep. It's great.
Yeah, they obviously care for each other at some extent. It's kind of weird.
It's like most family. Like, you hate them, but they may be jerks, but, you still love them to an extent.
In some cases.
It's a ringing endorsement of families. Just,
Family.
They're terrible people, but you kind of love them.
I mean, I'm just saying
You're
most
forced to by standard
people.
conventions.
I mean, I'm not saying, like, family's terrible, like, you don't have to love them, but I'm just saying, like, to the most part, you do, even though they're terrible people. Yep.
So, yeah. That's our little story.
Thanks, family. You are now terrible people, according to Becca. And Paul's mother is Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, first off,
Potato.
you keep saying it wrong. The joke was that my mother came from a long line of potato heads, implying that it was a family surname that
Which
was now
she
lost.
would then not have, because she
Right.
married and took another name.
Obviously, because it's not one that you would want to have, I'd assume.
Although
That's
I
the joke.
assume telling that on your mother's maiden name on the
Yeah.
on the internet's probably not the best idea, but
Yeah, well,
whatever.
yeah. I'm sorry to my mother and all the other potato heads from the law. I'm not going to give them a country of origin because there's one that would have been very easy, and I didn't. You're all racist for thinking I was going to go there. So yeah, how about that art?
Oh yeah, art section. I'm gonna mention the artist's name because that's a thing.
Sounds good.
Or are you just going to butcher the artist's name?
Actually, his name is Tom Fowler, so he is a very easily pronounced name. Although I will also mention, and this is usually not something that I do mention, but the cover artist was Ryan Sook. Mostly because he has an awesome last name, S-O-O-K, and it's signed on the front of the page, and I was like, Sook, that's a really awesome name. So, I specifically went out of my way to do that. Yep. So, just to let you guys know, let you in on the little secrets.
The making magic. Yeah, I guess for the art for me, I really enjoyed it. Again, it goes in well with the dialogue and the showing not telling. They don't say like in this city. It's just here's a picture of a city. Here's them falling out of a building. Here's the science lab. Like it's stuff is labeled in the environment that needs to be labeled in the environment. Nothing extra is really there.
Yeah. They do expressions really well, because
Yes.
Woody and Eric or Quantum or whatever do a lot of expression making, mostly in the angry and then sarcastic range of things, but they do really good, on that. I also really enjoy there's at one point there's a photograph of the family of Derek, Eric, and Woody. And it's really funny seeing like you can see in the picture the relation between Eric and Derek. Like they look exactly like each other, sans some details, which is cool. And then Eric, grown up, now looks like what his father did in that picture, which is kind of cool to, like, have that detail but still have them look different. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, like Woody's got a black eye in the picture.
Yet again, still setting up a lot of character development.
Yeah, no, the people were done really, really, really well in this, and it's done in a semi-realistic fashion. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not cartoony, but still at the same time, when they do need to express, their faces are more elastic than reality.
Yeah, it's not like Miss Marvel's level of cartoony.
Yeah, definitely not, because that like completely going for a good expression on Miss Marvel, they'll like erase all of the realistic, like anything realistic on her face, and then just put like 2 dots at a smiley face. So. But this, they have a decent amount of detail, like, I would say maybe Eric's more conventionally handsome looking, but Woody has like a really weird, like, bony face. Like, I don't know, I just love the detail on his face, not just like a generic guy with a big chin and whatever. Like, he has like bony chins and thin cheeks and, like, has people face structure.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, people look realistic. And realistically proportioned, too.
Yes.
That's a thing you don't see every day, and something worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah, proportions are good. People look like people, and not like they don't have a spine.
Yeah, worth mentioning.
Yeah. You can see where their organs would be.
Most everybody keeps their spines. It's all good.
Yeah. So I think,
Yeah, there's not... Oh, energy. They do a lot of the electricity and the energy, and it looks really cool the way that they do it.
Yeah.
All the tasings look really cool.
The tasers
the
looks
multiple tastes.
cool. I like,
There's 2 tasings in book 1 alone.
Yeah.
Yes. I like the, their particleness or whatever. Like, after the explosion, and they look like they have, like, almost, like, dots missing out of them. And, like, it looks like they're bubbling away, almost, I want to say is the best way to put it. So they, not only do they have bubbles of, like, blue or orange around them, but then parts of them are almost missing, like, as if they're disappearing. Which is cool. I love the way that looks. It's a really cool effect that they have.
I like that on the page that's up there, the explosion sound, the car blows up, and the explosion sound written is car boom.
I was waiting for you to hit that when you did the onomatopoeias earlier.
I know, but I didn't. Well, but I got distracted by the whoosh.
Yeah.
So.
I like it. It's,
Yeah. So.
it's cool stuff. I like the I'm gonna say energy, style that they use for almost anything, whether it be Eric's powers, Woody's powers, the explosions of the energy scientific thing, all that stuff. All looks good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All around good. Not much to complain about.
We good with art? Everybody's good?
I think so. Yeah, up until
Okay.
we get to some of the later stuff. That,
Yeah.
I want to do a quick thing. We've been doing spoilers and then we rate. I wanted to do a quick mid-podcast rating. Because if you want to read the book and you're like, oh man, I really want to pick this up, we'll give you a quick...
I thought about this,
We'll
yes.
give you a quick thought about what, up to this point, what we think about this book, whether we give it 2 thumbs up, whether we think it's readable, whether we think there's too many characters being added in, like, to this point. So we won't spoil anything with saying what our rating is, and it'll be a quick rating. But that way, you don't have to, like, try shuffling through the spoiler section to the end to figure out what our rating is, and even at that, we might spoil stuff with our rating at the end. So I would, just a quick, okay, this, Quantum and Woody, this is obviously, it's not like a Spider-Man or anything where you're jumping into a middle of the story. This is, the characters are given to you, their character is developed in the story, so you can start at this book. It's good to start at, it's a really good starting book. I don't know. It's a good book to start.
Well,
I like it.
It's good to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep. Good to start at the beginning. But I'm just saying, like, Maximum Carnage, I would never recommend to a Spider-Man fan. If anybody's like, I want to read Spider-Man, let me just jump into Maximum Carnage. Like, no. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You should do it to people you don't like.
But, no, Quantum and Woody, I like it. So, if we're doing a 3-thumb system, please give us another rating system, because I feel like I need more thumbs than this, or maybe stars, I don't know. I'd give it 2 thumbs.
Do we want to switch to stars?
Okay, you're...
Whoa, I already gave thumbs. Maybe next time. But I'll give 2, out of 0, 1, 2 thumbs, probably 2 thumbs on this.
Yeah, up to this point, yes. I would have to say I would also 2 thumbs.
Yeah, I'm in the, 1.95 thumbs.
I said the rating system was 0, 1, 2.
No decimals.
I'm clipping a fingernail off, but then saying yes, 2 thumbs.
Okay.
2 thumbs minus that tiny bit of fingernail.
Oh my god.
No, I will say up to this point, the story's good, but it is it's, obviously it's all epilogue up to your superheroes being born. Prologue, there we go. Epilogue is the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Peter Parker getting bit by a spider and then figuring out his spider powers. Like, this is...
Whoa!
This is it.
Oh man,
Whoa.
spoiler.
I just not even the spoiler section. No, but like, this is the origin story. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for of the hero. So, nothing crazy happening yet, but you're getting all the development, which is, it's done really well and really excitingly. It's not just like, here's Eric. Eric's a army guy and does stuff. Like, no. So it's good. So and now after that, we will continue into the spoiler section. So if you haven't read the book and want to read it, go pick it up and then follow us into the spoiler section. Spoilers.
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 Spoiler.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Spoilers?
Spoiler.
It has all been a dream.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm just gonna say this real fast because it was one of the things that jumped to my mind. This is the second book we've reviewed in which Thomas Edison has somehow been evil.
Now look, I'm just saying, Thomas Edison was evil. Like,
Yeah, there's no disputing that.
Right,
There's-
but
there's
I'm saying...
fact, Thomas
that's like
Edison
saying,
was awful.
This is like the 5th book I've read where Nazis are the bad guys. Like, well, they were bad. So, I mean, really, basing things on realistic things, I will accept it.
Right, no, that's, yes, but... yeah, so I guess... where to go? The main thing I guess I will say, just because I'm just gonna start off on this spot, was that the organization responsible for the death of, although it's kind of still vague at the end exactly who was responsible,
Yeah.
but the organization responsible for the death of their father was the ERA, which was a group started by Thomas Edison. I believe, let's see, the ERA stands for the Edison
something or other.
acquisitions, Edison's something acquisitions, where basically it's a group of smart people who find inventions and other people who have created new technology, and they basically take the technology and store it away until they feel society is ready for it, so that they can make a lot of money off of it.
Yes. They kind of wrap it around and say like, oh, well, society's not ready for black hole, like portals yet, but also if we release it in 2020, it'll make a lot more money, because we're releasing, science at a steady rate as opposed to all together at once. Which is, I mean, it's funny because that's basically what Edison did, was he hired a lot of very smart people, took their stuff, and said it was his own.
Yes, Edison's radical acquisitions.
There we go.
Yep.
Also, according to one of the comic frames, teleportation is to be released in 2040, so mark your calendar.
Yeah, I know, I was excited.
If that happens, then Edison is actually an evil villain and has stopped teleportation from happening.
And has used this comic to secretly disseminate his information to those of us smart enough to pick up on it.
I would assume not him. I don't think Edison would.
He's
I assume,
Brian.
So you think
I would assume the artist,
AC
the
Power's
writer,
still around?
the writer of this comic would be the genius releasing that information, right?
Unless he's a puppet for Thomas Edison.
But why would he release his information? His
To those
secret
of us
plan.
smart enough to figure it out, that way we could join
Why?
him
No.
in world domination.
No, because you wouldn't. That's the starting of another superhero comic. Of somebody figuring it out and then Batmaning it up to defeat Edison, which would then create another comic where Edison was the bad guy. Stop this, Brian.
I was going to say, you've opened a can of worms. Speaking of worms, I don't have anywhere to go from that. I thought maybe...
I do. The
Okay.
giant monster thing that the crazy people make.
Well, I mean, because basically the story, I love the story from here.
Yeah.
Basically, because basically it's just discovering all this stuff, which you didn't mention Johnny 1 and Johnny 2, who are the
Nope.
best people ever, who made the giant fear thing. I forget what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Like Nightmare?
Nightmare Brigade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd call it that.
Part spider, part clown, part needles.
It's beautiful. It was basically, he took everything that, statistically the most feared things, and put it into one, except for public speaking and heights, I think, were the two things that he couldn't
Yeah.
add into it.
Because he couldn't figure out how to get it into a creature.
Into
a
a nightmare
creature.
beast.
Which is great. They basically go to an office, where they found clues, because their father left a note that said basically, or a video that basically said, hey, I was murdered because I was doing research and the research was good and this people came up to me. So they go to the place and then they get attacked by Johnny 1 and Johnny 2. Who, they have such great backgrounds, because I love Johnny 2 starts speaking about his backstory, which he's in this, like, floating wheelchair hooked up to IVs and stuff. And he starts talking about, like, I was crippled when I was born and my parents weren't gonna accept me, so they didn't even name me so they weren't attached. And then, like, literally, like, Woody, like, I think interrupts midway through his thing. But, like, apparently he created everything that he has. He's, super genius. And then his brothers too, which I presume then his brother was named Johnny, and then out of defiance took Johnny too. But it was just so funny.
Yeah, which was
and also, yet again, showing off that Johnny's a dick. He takes the crippled kid out of his chair and...
Yeah, Woody... Oh yeah. I now visit their graves daily. Johnny too is like, and now I've outlived my parents, and I go to their grave, and Woody just takes him out of the chair. I wasn't asking for your sob story. He just holds him out the window.
And then Quantum takes offense to this. He's like, yo, dude, you can't do that. It's like, wait.
And then he summons the Nightmare Brigade, so I think that whole fight would have been stopped had they just dropped him out the window. So in honesty...
But then you would have never seen the Nightmare Brigade, which
But Quantum's in the wrong here, and that's what we need to take out of it.
Yeah, but honestly,
he's consistently in the wrong here.
I also love, they went somewhere, I forget where, and they found these costumes, and like, Woody's like, no, we need costumes so that nobody knows who we are. So then Quantum, Eric's like, oh, okay, whatever, and need code names so that nobody knows who we are. So we don't get in more trouble than we already are if we're, going and interrogating people. So then he convinces Eric to put on a costume, he puts on a costume, and then by the time he makes it up to the place where they're supposed to go, Woody changes out of that costume into, like, a suit and tie, and then jumps in and says, my name's Woody, as opposed to Quantum. And he's like, what? I'm wearing this costume? And Woody's like, yeah, no, it looks stupid. Like, I decided not to wear it. I was like, oh god, get it? It's just...
Yeah, he decided... I saw my reflection on the elevator on the way up. Those costumes look gay. I don't mean derogatory gay. I meant I literally looked like my friend Gay Dave, who I used to go clubbing with. And it's just like this random diatribe while the two Johnnies are there and interrogating their father's ex-boss. And there's so much.
Then turning him into part of the Nightmare Brigade.
Yeah, which... Yeah,
that was... I will say that is a pretty... It's pretty creepy in the comic world. I think in real life that would be really scary. Yeah. Like, I'd be like, no, I'm freaked out by this, yes.
Yeah, so there's some great characters who all get... Again, we're not told anything about the characters except by their interactions, which I really like. There's no, like, caption that says, meanwhile, in the headquarters of the Quantum offices, the two brothers... There's none of that. It's just all through their talking back and forth we learn about these people. That and out-of-place monologuing, but it's okay, because out-of-place monologuing is hysterical, so...
Oh, and then this leads to them being eventually thrown out the window, which brings us back to the beginning of the last issue.
Yeah, full circle.
Of them being thrown out the window. And they survived the fall by Quantum using his shielding towards the ground. But yeah, it was...
Also, in case anybody didn't realize the onomatopoeia on this page, it is snap, crackle, and then pop.
Yeah, well, they do go out of... Yeah, no, when they fall to the ground, because
they bounce.
Yeah, the thing hits, they bounce. The thing hits, it snaps, it bounces, it crackles, and then it breaks open and pops. So yeah. I mean, the continuing storyline from there just goes, basically, Quantum had tagged with a GPS tracker the Johnny number 2 in his chair. And, Quantum and Woody break up after this, because, they're angry at each other, because they always are. And then they go after the stuff. Or, Woody gets captured, and Quantum goes after stuff. I do like, amongst all of this, they give a lot of flashbacks. I like a lot of the stuff that goes on. Because you get this developing storyline of Eric's father, Derek. I mean, he's the single father raising Eric, as is anyway. But then you get this, he wants to care for Woody, but Woody's like a trouble kid. Like, literally, he's like, we're going fishing, go sit out in the car and don't hotwire it. And while he's talking to Eric, Woody hotwires the car and starts driving away. And interrupts his discussion. And Derek almost seems like he's harder on Eric just because it's his son, and he's like, no, you have to do your homework, and you can't be, getting into these fights, and he seems like he's putting pressure on Eric more than Woody, even though Woody does more bad. So, that's where this stems from. But you still get this feeling that even though Derek is very mad at Woody for all the stuff he does, like one of the days he's caught smoking outside. So this dialogue goes and he basically drags him in and goes, no, you can't, not in my house, you're not doing this. You're not gonna, be a bad example for Eric. And Woody goes off and does this whole, this dialogue and he's like, no, I've fought guys bigger than you, go ahead, do it. Basically showing that he's been hit and he's had parental units that have abused him. And instead of doing anything, Derek just gets down on a knee and hugs him. So you get this, you get two sides of a story of this father struggling who loved both of his kids, even though one was adopted and one was not. But still the struggle and where all of this debating between Derek and Eric and Woody come from. I wish they weren't Derek and Eric. It's so, those names are so similar. But you feel the family, where the family problems come from and where everything is, what rubs and what connects. So it's cool. I like the flashbacks. They give a really good, they delve into the characters so well.
Including we figure out that in an act of rebellion, Eric actually goes in to one of the school labs and using the anarchist cookbook starts to try and make, basically to get attention, explosives and things like that, and accidentally goes and blows up the lab. And we find out later that the reason that Woody left, one of the main reasons, is because in order to basically protect his brother's image, he goes and writes a note basically saying that he did it, that he apologizes for it, and then he leaves. And that's why there's been that gap for 9 years. Which shows that even though he's not the best person, he does care about his family that took him in. And
yeah, so it's a really... Yeah, I mean, for as much as Woody is just a dick all the time, you do feel that, that relationship between the family. You understand why he even cared about going to the funeral and all that jazz. Because, I mean, really, if he didn't like the family, he wouldn't be so mad about not being told, but you can tell that they both very much love, their dad, even though they hate each other to an extent. Yeah, no. Story goes from there. I forget, how does Woody get caught again? I forget what he does.
Oh, well, being as subtle as he is.
He asks for a massage, with a happy ending.
Oh,
so to
yeah.
speak, and, they send an undercover agent and capture him. They also find out where he's at, because Quantum and Woody, during their escape from falling out of a building, give a cape to a homeless man, who then gets into a shopping cart, wears the cape, and yells, "I'm king of the world," at the top of his lungs while riding down a hill.
I love that because they hide behind the homeless man because basically it's one of those human nature things where you plainly just want to ignore that person, and avoid them. And then so as a reward, Quantum's like, "Here, take this cape. I don't need it." So he's like, "Oh, so there's $20 in one of those pouches." And then, the lady's interrogating him, she's like, "Why did you take this cape?" And he's like, "Fuck, 'cause I wanted a cape." He's like, "I wanted it."
I've been on these streets most of my life. Finally seen a hero finally seen a hero like that. I was inspired.
To do what exactly?
And then it's the panel of him in the shopping cart.
Going down a hill with the cape on. It's great. It's just no, that is exactly the reason why you wanted that cape.
Yeah, if I had a cape, I would do that right now.
It's what everyone would do with a cape.
We have a bed sheet here. BRB, we're gonna go get a shopping cart and try and find a hill, although we're in New Jersey, so that could take
South
a while.
Jersey. That'll take a while. We're in the flattest, minus a desert probably.
Oh.
And then.
But not until we mention the best character. My favorite character. You might like the Johnnies. My favorite character was a scientist, part of the ERA, named Beta Max.
Oh, I love him. I was about to say, I thought you were going to say the main villain lady, and I was like, she's cool.
No, I knew Paul was going to name
Betamax
Beta Max.
Beta Max is the best. He basically was given permission to join the ERA because he was the first scientist to successfully graft, make himself into a cyborg, grafting technology into his body and still live. But the problem was he did this during the 1980s, so the technology that's keeping him alive is now largely obsolete. And he made a little film to show and tell about their secret organization.
Yes.
But it's on a beta player that's in his stomach that constantly overheats because of failing 80s technology, which is amazingly fun.
That's the problem with being a super secret organization. No one ever gets to see the film.
Yeah.
I love his design too, because he's so square, I guess. Like, even in his face and head, like, he's bald. And it's just, like, very square, very lean. It's just love. He's literally split down the center robot person. Which is like, so half his face, half his body, one arm, another arm, like, whatever. And I love, like, his robot arms and legs are just so thin. It's so funny. I just love him.
He's arguing with Hazmat.
Yeah.
Like, the names, just the two of them.
Great.
Oh my god, I love those names. Betamax and Hazmat.
Who's in a suit with a jar on his head. Basically a hazmat suit. It's great. Like, none of these people are, like, halfway normal sitting in this room.
Nope.
Cause these are all the people who are,
Part of the ERA.
Yeah, the ERA, and they're like the council of the secret, meeting. And, like, to begin with, they're like, they have these two guys, and he's like, the Russian guy brings them in and is like, oh, these two kids invented, portals, I think, or whatever, in their garage or something. And he's like, the lady's like, well, we're the ERA, this is what we do, and we're taking your invention. The kids are like, oh, cool, we're part of the thing? No, you're not. You're dead. See you later. We took your invention. Bye. Like,
just gonna correct you. Not Russian guy.
Oh yeah, it's not a Russian guy, because the main villainess has been the head of the ERA for, like, ever.
Yeah.
She invented cloning.
She perfected cloning and has been cloning her body parts to keep her alive. One of her clones was then give hormones and, like, plastic surgery and stuff, and now is the Russian girl.
Yeah.
Who is incredibly masculine.
Yeah, you did
Like,
not
you would
know
not
it
tell.
was a girl at all.
Until the dialogue of, that guy, no, that's one of my clones. Wait.
But it's a guy, not where it counts.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is great, and the police lady who, like, you get the police chief, which you do in most, like, superhero comics, like, the police chief's, like, obviously hunting them down and looking for the clues and everything. She's also a clone who has been made to look different as to gain a real job and not just help out around. I also love the fact, like, in her background storyline thing, she talks about how she made clones and they were trying to make her make super soldiers, but she couldn't perfect aging. She couldn't perfect making the clones age, so she, like, there's, like, this picture of, like, these small baby heads on these, like, gigantically muscular bodies, but they're apparently still the same age as if they were, like, two. Just these gigantically huge bodies, and they were like, oh, good enough. Like, take it.
I'm a master waste. Like,
oh my god, that's so good.
And then we get to my favorite character.
Oh my god, yeah, cause,
The goat.
Yeah, cause Woody's held up here, Woody's disintegrating, and so is Quantum, because they're away. They have to touch bracelets to, like, stabilize themselves.
At least that's what you gather.
Yeah, that's what you gather. Quantum breaks in to save Woody, which is also hilarious, cause he runs a boat, and he's like, oh, there's only one boat here, that can't be bad, there's not a ton of people. But, like, on the other side of the island, they show you the shot, there's, like, 1 million boats and, like, freighters and stuff, and, like, all these people, and he's like, this isn't gonna be too hard. Like, walks in, there's 1 million people, and then sees that there's 1 million people around Woody, so he's like, oh, look, there's a room of dangerous animals and T-Rexes and things, I guess I'll just let them loose. Which is great.
but the only one that follows him directly into
the
combat is the goat.
Like, he's like, I released all of these animals and led them here! And there's just this goat behind him, and he's like, what? Goat goes, meh. But then everybody starts freaking out. They're like, oh no, not that one!
It's loose. Sweet monkey expletive Darwin. It's loose.
From Hazmat, who is also, yet again, still a great character. And the goat's eyes glow red. It's great. And then, I don't know what happens, but I think the goat just starts zipping around and killing people.
Yeah.
Like, he just jumps into action and then just starts tearing people up, apparently. The goat is great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Fighting ensues. Eventually, Quantum and Woody get back together, before Woody, like, completely disintegrates into nothingness. My favorite scene is they're fighting, the lady disintegrates for some odd reason, and then all of a sudden, the countdown counter comes on. It's like, oh, full destruct in 5 minutes. And all you see is the goat's hoof pressing a button, and then he's eating a piece of paper that says, what does it say?
Maybe we should uninstall self-destruct, ? And then a piece of paper taped to it. Worth discussion at the next meeting. ?
Yes.
Which is great. I love that, because it's literally, like, that's what I do at work. Because it's literally like, what is this? And you put the sticky note on, and then somebody goes, I don't know, and puts another sticky note on. It's like, this was completely useless. Thank you for all these notes. But, oh, it's just great. Oh, I love that.
That's how real business works.
That panel is amazing. Oh, and then Betamax comes back after overheating and catching on fire and putting his fire out. And he's like, oh, guys, what happened? There's, like, destruction everywhere. Oh, it's so good.
And the crone, who's the main woman, she comes apart at the seams because she has her chair she's in has like death claw things going on, and she catches it on herself and rips out one of her seams that's holding her together because she's just a bunch of sewn together parts, and so she kind of falls apart. And she asks Betamax if he has any rocket boosters to get them off the island before it explodes, and he says no, but I do have a fax machine because he's a 1980s android, which is great.
It's so great. Then basically, yeah, the whole island that they were on, it was an island, the whole island they were on explodes, and they're getting off on a boat with pretty much anybody who was captive and whatever else, and the goat.
Yeah.
The goat, very important character.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, so it looks like the main people that they show getting off are the goat, the clone who's the police officer, and one other clone, it looks like.
Yeah, although the police officer lady went through, the main head, does she have a name, the main cloning lady? The main head
She was known as
honcho.
the crone, I don't know.
Oh, okay, the crone.
Yeah.
Basically the crone, she goes and she's like, oh, strap this bomb, here, take this bomb. And she's like, okay, I'll take this bomb. What am I doing with it? Strap it to your back and then run in there and explode. And she's like, no, I have purpose. You have a million clones that don't have purpose. And she's like, no, if you're not willing to sacrifice yourself for me, then you have no use anymore. So basically, the police chief clone, completely was just like, nope, never mind, leaving, see you later.
Strap this to yourself, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, so that's why she's on the boat and not as a threat, but just as well, I guess I'll leave, see you later.
Yeah. Because, and she says, listen, when we get back, I trust I'll have your cooperation in making this whole thing blow over. I'd like to return to the department without them knowing that technically I'm illegal. And Woody asks, because you're Mexican? She goes, because I'm a clone, jackass!
That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of the humor in their dialogue goes from, they approach a line of being politically incorrect, Woody crosses it, then they go back the other way again, and it's I don't know, it's funny. It's well done. So.
Yeah. Also, I hope the goat is a recurring character, because at the end, somebody makes a reference to killing somebody else, and then the goat gets angry, and they're like, uh-oh, alright, the goat doesn't like that. I think we're just gonna relax here.
Yeah. I like that the goat speaks in speech bubbles that says meh.
Meh.
I feel like that's what a goat would say.
I mean, that's all it does, but I love the fact that it doesn't like meh, like it doesn't like extend it or anything, no, it's meh. Like,
very short little.
Just a, eh. I also like at the end, obviously, the island explodes, everything's wrapping up. I think Woody, explains to Eric what happened, like back in the day, and like, oh, your father was always so hard on me because he didn't want me to interfere with how you were brought up, and, you being a good kid, he didn't want me to influence you. So like they get this like ending, not tied type of, oh, all along you ran away because you took the blame for me and all this other stuff. So, a nice ending. And Quantum being insensitive, or Woody being insensitive, as usual.
And basically saying he's going to crash with him in DC because he needs a place to live, and also if they're not near each other, they may disappear into the ether. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Quantum and Woody, which was just so I liked it a lot. It was really good. Very clever. I like the humor on it. The humor's good. It's not like, hey, there's a fart joke. Like, it's very well thought out humor and smart humor.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
But every once in a while, there's a fart joke level. No,
No,
that's actually not true. Everything's very, very, very well done, humor-wise. Everything's very well thought out. Even the dumb humor has its place as dumb humor. Like because you're Mexican, they won't let you back. No, because I'm a clone, you idiot.
Yeah.
She's great. I love that police. I hope police chief lady makes it and does things, because she's good.
Mm-hmm.
So we want the police chief lady, the goat,
Yeah.
Like, police chief lady can...
Betamax.
Oh, I hope Betamax survived. I mean, it's unlikely.
Yes.
I don't think he did.
I don't think
Yeah,
he did.
right.
The island
80s
exploded.
80s technology.
80 technology at least survives. I mean, there's a Nintendo that, or Game Boy that survived a bombing in I don't know where, but...
I wonder if
I
that's
feel like-
actually going to be a plot point, that he
I
survived.
feel like he'll survive. He'll still malfunction and such, but I feel like he'll survive because he's 80s technology. I think that would be funny. We'll see.
I just also greatly enjoy the fact that he can't upgrade because he'd probably die because his whole his whole body was integrated into what was high tech in the 1980s.
That's great.
So like, I don't know.
Mm.
Betamax is one of those characters that to me it's not only wordplay and punny, but then you've built up a backstory that's equally funny. Hence why I also greatly enjoy Hazmat. We didn't quite get as much background on Hazmat, but I
think
still,
Hazmat was mauled to death by the goat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah, he was the first one to be like, no, that it's loose.
Yeah.
And expletive.
Yeah.
Whatever, I forget what it was.
Monkey or Darwin bleeping. Yeah. Anyway.
I still love the Russian clone. It's great. Like all the story behind the fact that she's a female clone that was injected with hormones. The fact that she is this, like, incredibly masculine in any way you could think of it. And then the fact that they just have the scar of a hammer and sickle. Like, and where did the Russian come from? I don't even know.
Oh, because,
That's
because that was the thing where she was made to infiltrate some Russian crime syndicate, apparently.
yeah, like, I was like, oh,
Which,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder, was that, like, did they all have that tattoo, or were they just so desperate to try and get her into the organization that they were like,
by the way, I'm Russian.
yeah, did you see the hammer and sickle
I don't know.
on my face?
I like that this book has a way of playing with your perception and your prejudice. Like for example, that was like the first time you see that clone, you're like, that's a big dude. He's about to snap that guy's neck. I guess he's Russian because he's got the hammer and sickle on his face. It's not Russian. It's not a dude. It's a clone of a female that was genetically modified. You don't find that out until later.
Although, in the defense of my assumption, there's a full-on beard.
Exactly. That's why I like that it plays with that. We mentioned earlier that it plays with the racial stereotypes
She is the best
and
character.
stuff like that.
Did she ever get a name? Russian?
Paul's looking it up.
I will check, but I am not sure.
I don't think.
I don't believe so.
I literally think it's just Russian clone. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, it's...
Yeah, the book's good. It's also, the book isn't run entirely on humor, because obviously there's books that are just, like all of the setup and all of the story is set so that it's a humor piece. This, it has deep storyline, it has deep characters, and it has, it has a lot to it, which I like. So it's not just one giant joke.
This is not Deadpool. This is
No.
well written. The art is done well. The jokes are done well and intermeshed into a logical and coherent story.
Yeah,
This is not awful.
I really like it. Yep.
Yeah, I can't find it. I'm sorry. I've scrolling through for a
Russian
while.
clone.
Russian clone.
Russian clone's best.
Russian clone number 7.
No, there was no other Russian clone.
There was no.
That we're aware of, so I'm going to assume 7.
No,
No,
because
6 failures.
she's
and then...
best
Yeah, I
clone.
was gonna say her
Number
whole
one.
her whole shtick is that she does cloning, so I assume she's gotten pretty good at it at this point. Also, while I was flipping through the panels, I think at one point she calls Thomas Edison sensual, which implies that the two of them hooked up at some point.
Oh, she's supposed to be, like, super old. Like, she starts tearing apart, and it looks like she literally, like, just disintegrates. Like, apparently that's how old she is. She doesn't look healthy to begin with.
Yeah.
In any sense.
Nope.
But,
You know, what is it she said? Immortality through increments, I think
Yeah.
she said, yeah.
yeah, cause like, literally, like, cause you got these glimpses at her before, like, you got these glimpses of, like, old lips or whatever, and, like, there was constant, like, stuff happening, and even her chair seems to constantly be, like, repairing her and replacing pieces. She has, like, on some of the shots you can see she has, like, this dotted line around her face. I presume her face has been replaced multiple times. Like, it's just, yeah, like, she's constantly having pieces of her that are failing replaced. It's great.
Yeah, which I greatly enjoy.
And I like that we got all of this out of 4 issues of a comic book.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
There was more substance here than there was in Maximum Carnage.
Oh my god.
The villains were more driven.
Oh my gosh, the villains
Yeah.
made sense. Their names correlated
Betamax.
with their... What's Betamax's power? Oh, he's 80s technology themed. Got it. Hazmat suit. Got it. Shriek, sonic hand clapping. Like,
Amplifies feelings. What?
like all shrieking does. Ah! I feel my feelings amplified. No.
Oh no,
I'm
my
sorry.
sadness.
I promise I'll let that go by the next one. But.
But you know, I give this, like, a pretty enthusiastic 2 thumbs up for rating for good. Done. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if we're still doing thumbs, yeah, I give 2 thumbs up as well.
Yeah, haven't changed my opinion since our mid.
Yeah.
session.
Well,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm still 2 thumbs up. I know I said 1.96, but I was just trying 9.5. Yeah, I was just trying to dissent at that point somehow. But it's a really good book. Go read it. Go
Yeah.
read it. I hope that we can read the rest of it or more of it or something.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's stopping you from reading stuff in your free time.
I know, but I want
Well,
more drive to read more of it.
I don't know. Maybe somebody has to suggest that we read.
Somebody
volume
suggest
2.
this, or I have to make a fake email account and suggest this.
Don't make Brian make a fake email account.
well, no, it's you. When you start saying that you agree with everything you said, and they're like, no, everyone's agreeing with Brian. That's not real. You're a faker. Fake imposter faker.
Dear podcast, you need to read more Quantum and Woody, and everybody is wrong about Miss Marvel being awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, Brian, did you?
Dear me, we need to read Quantum and Woody Volume 2. I mean, you need to send.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's.
Speaking of which, what are we grabbing next week?
Ooh, that's
we
a good
didn't
question.
discuss this.
Oh, back to this old thing. I got used to knowing what we were doing beforehand. What are we doing?
Well, I mean, I guess we'll do Wonder Woman is a book
Yeah.
up on the list. So we'll be doing Volume 1, or do you want to do 1 and 2? They're smaller books.
Volume 1 again. Should
Okay.
be pretty
Keep
good.
it going.
We'll do Volume 1. So Volume 1 of Wonder Woman, the New 52 title.
Ooh, going
So
back to
it's-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, New 52 Wonder Woman.
I don't. Have we been back in the New 52 since our Batman?
Nope. New 52
No.
Batman was
Ooh.
the first one.
Stepping into the now not called New 52 anymore,
Yeah.
but yeah, excellent, exciting.
I think it's Wonder Woman Blood. It's the
Ooh.
the thing on it.
Ew.
So yeah, no, it's
That's-
awesome. Wonder Woman's great. Yep.
All right.
Well, if you're spontaneously decomposing into particles, you should tap your wristbands together with your brother, who's been estranged from you. And then you can find us using the series of tubes to follow us on Facebook, where we are As Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. You can follow us on our Twitter, where we are at I Don't Read Comics. You can send us your questions, comments, concerns, problems, and suggestions to read more Quantum and Woody, because I said so, to idon'treadcomics@gmail.com.
Can I just say, people sending us their problems?
I,
Like, we're not therapists. Like, I mean,
I've said it this whole time. I'm not going to change
well, I
it.
don't know. I just caught it this time specifically that it really.
Maybe you should say problems with our podcast. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought, I think
Problems with your guys' opinion in liking Miss Marvel.
Oh my god!
My brother is estranged, and I don't have bracelets to tap together.
I think my wife's having an affair. I don't want to touch that one. I do not want to touch that one.
If you want
I have
Paul
not
to
heard-
solve your problem.
No,
I haven't heard of that book, but I'll try for it.
Is there a book of that now?
I don't know.
I'll have to Google that later.
I don't know. Sex criminals is on our list of things. Maybe it's in there.
Maybe. It actually doesn't have any cheating on it, as far as I know, but it is a good book. You can recommend it.
It was
Say what you will about sex criminals, but apparently they are in a committed relationship. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Make us read it, and we'll do it.
Yeah, we will.
Done. Then you'll know. For reals. Or you could read it yourself. Or you could, I'm just saying it's cheaper. Don't spend money on the book. Tell us to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you should really support these people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening.
And as always, the book was better.